This topic is very personal. I just read it and it totally describes what I think, in my mind, happened to me in my organizational days as a blind sheep going through the motions but not analyzing what was going on. Um, so I guess I'm too used to isolating myself, becoming a habit. So anyway, maybe I did it to myself, is what I'm saying. But this is about Mao's takeover of China, and we just talked about the war, which is when education and the three organizations of the peasant unions, parallel hierarchy, and the army were used, education and organization, during the war to take over with slow and pervasive propaganda. So after 1949, how was the propaganda different? Let's find out. So they're talking about education a lot. And they probably talk about organization too. In the first part. So after victory, the propaganda principles remained unchanged, but were applied differently. On February 27th, 1957, in his report to the Supreme Conference of the State, Mao said, "One cannot force the people to renounce idealism or force the people to believe in Marxism. To settle ideological problems, one must act through the democratic methods of discussion, criticism, persuasion, and appropriate education." So discussion, criticism, persuasion, and appropriate education. But we must remember the incidentally quite remarkable method of the 100 flowers. As in Nazi Germany in 1943, there was a period of apparent liberalism when expressions of all sort of criticism, deviationism, idealistic and religious inclinations, and so on were tolerated. This reminds me of the 90s and the millennium Y2K. Authorized, even encouraged. But that all stopped after 9/11. Shoot, before 9/11 you could get cookbooks on how to make nuclear weapons on the internet. And the whole process and everything. Now you'll get the hit squad knocking on your door. That happened to me right today. Dizam. Encouraged. Then after all opponents had spoken, the wave of repression hit them. Arrests, jail sentences, So it was all done to, like Jeffrey Gomes said in 12 Monkeys, to totally map out our mind and our ideas and our beliefs and our myths. Oh yeah, that's what we used to write in school about what we believe in, this and that. And now Facebook. But anyway, on YouTube. So then the wave of repression hit them. Arrests, jail sentences, and political re-education took place. So maybe it happened simultaneously, maybe just here and there. In the post-war country of China. And no, this was actually in 1943 in Germany, Nazi Germany. So the purpose of the 100 Flowers campaign sounds like what they talk about the Iraq War and the Middle East War. It's a 100 years war. So similar to the 100 Flowers campaign, which was in Nazi Germany again, to make opponents come out in the open so they could be arrested and eliminated. So they were, like I said, I feel like I've been instigated to kind of turn over a new leaf, or turn over to my old leaf. Like Dr. Dre said, y'all go keep fucking around with me and turn me back to the old me. And Antifa and those types are running, marching through the streets, proclaiming that that's their right to do. Like they did at the Alex Jones rally. They were like, Black Lives Matter, bro. Oh no, it was at an anti-feminism rally or something. And these feminazi males, the lapdogs, the female bulldogs of the feminazi Jezebels, they came up to the camera and they started chanting down the camera and just like not letting them do what they were doing, their propaganda, but they were chanting it down and claiming they were using this is free speech. It's like this is the hubris of these delusionally arrogant motherfucking Antifa types. And maybe it's a disease throughout society, or modern society, with propaganda. But yeah, we're gonna use our free speech to not let you speak. And that's called Free Speech in the New America. Another powerful video by Alex Jones again. Anyway. So they draw them out into open with the free rights. And then the subsequent rectification campaign could not, in Mao's words, be gentle as a breeze or a summer rain for the enemies of the people. So that reminds me of the movie The Experiment, and that was supposed to be with rules that, you know, everyone can agree with, but unfortunately within 10 days people started getting at each other's throats, literally. Within a couple days, actually. So, prison management is not an easy job. Shit. Alright. So it was a very harsh and brutal campaign on the enemies of the people, or enemy of the state, which is just an individual. But anyway, I guess they become an enemy of the people because the people don't like their words. Even a propaganda centered on education cannot do without terror. So a propaganda centered on education cannot do without terror. In order to arrive at full compliance with propaganda, so there's always detention centers, and even cops coming into the police, even police coming and arresting students in the last couple of decades in the police state of America, USSA. So that's crazy. So terror is a necessary part of propaganda, and propaganda education. Hence, wartime has the best propaganda. But in order to arrive at full compliance with propaganda, the 7% incorrigible individualists must be eliminated. That's why I call it USSA, because USA was originally for an agrarian, individualistic, exploratory, adventurous kind of individualist. But those 7% individualists who are not at full compliance with propaganda, well, actually, these are the ones who are literally the opposite, naturally, of what these people spend all their efforts and energy building in the physical world. But God has created the 7%, the seventh seal, and the I don't know, the queen piece, or the wild card factor, like I say, that are a threat to propaganda just by themselves because of their mental strength and talents and abilities, gifts, spiritual gifts, according to the Bible. So they must be eliminated. And the objective of Mao's propaganda is a double one: to integrate individuals into the new body politic as deeply as possible, and at the same time to detach them from the old groups, such as the family or traditional village organizations. They just talked about this like 4 days ago. So Mao integrates people into the new politic and detaches them from their old bonds that don't serve his propaganda purposes. So family got to go, LTR got to go, home ownership, permanent home ownership got to go, and even vehicle ownership. My God, I mean, give me some space. Even that's got to go, unless you were in the army or the parallel hierarchy, earning the big beta bucks, or unless you're going to be out of luck. So you can't have family, you can't have traditional village organizations. These groups must be disintegrated, always through action from within. That's why I was so mad at the club. I was like, I'm so fucking sick and tired of these subversive agents coming in with their Marxist or whateverist agenda. But maybe I was just becoming unpopular, and it was my personality. That's what my fellow leaders say. My personality that was creating the tension. I don't think I was the rugged 7% incorrigible individualist, but I guess I've always felt like that at my heart. So these groups must be disintegrated from within, and that's why these MGTOW brothers be checking these females that are disintegrating. The freaking last remaining LTRs out there. I don't know. Anyway, so there must be maximum conformity on the part of the individual. So to create the propaganda groups, I guess, there must be maximum conformity. This conformity is ideological and total conformity and total ideological conformity. Mao could well say that not to have the correct ideological point of view is like having no soul. So there was this bitch at the club, claimed to be an advocate. Damn. Total, I mean, she purposely dressed herself to look conservative because she's the type of batch that be wearing them red hairs and them big earrings and shit. But now she's trying to earn the big bucks, I guess, so she's got to play the role of the propagandist. So she made a fucking comment to my comment about the dangers of organizations, and I don't support any organization I've seen so far. Damn. She's like, oh, everybody's entitled to their opinions, mocking the American tradition of free speech. Damn. Should deport her to Mexico, where she'd get a cushy job as a lawyer, working for the devil. Devil's advocate. So there must be maximum conformity on the part of the individual. We see today how the ideological and total brainwashing and any deviation from it is definitely not tolerated. You're seen as a soulless person, and they sacrifice you with bullet shots to the head now on the streets, like an animal ought to be, because you have no soul if you don't agree with our utopia. According to men like Julian and Tibor Mende, this enterprise was successful. Rendered perfectly malleable by 10 years of pounding, the prototypes mass-produced by the party. The prototypes mass-produced by the party. The prototypes, they're talking about the brainwashed citizens, mass-produced by the party, are now replacing the categories imposed earlier by Confucian scholars. So the previous values were replaced by these prototypes or memes and slogans and attitudes. Prototypes. So after 10 years of, well, it was more than 10 years of war, but I guess after war there was 10 years of pounding, of brainwashing, to replace the Confucian way. On the other hand, the task is to make the individual work beyond his strength for economic development. How true is that? So they're trying to make us work beyond our strength for the economic development. Man, Amazon was rough, yeah? Rough. Damn. Breaking bodies for the bottom dollar. All these leaps forward rest exclusively on propaganda. So leaps forward rest exclusively on propaganda. Interesting. The change we can believe in. Obama, the killer of Osama, the savior of the world, Nobel Peace Prize awardee. He didn't kill billions or millions, hundreds of millions. He's a peaceful man. For world peace, for eternity. Propaganda may take the form of excitation, mass demonstrations, or emulation. So mass demonstrations means China must overtake the US, and hatred for capitalists is aroused. So excitation, mass demonstrations, or emulation a la Piatiletka. But it is mainly in the form of education and persuasion in the economic domain. So economy, like Randy Marsh said in South Park, is a god. For propaganda purposes, for sure. When orientations change, methods change as well. So I've got 2.5 more pages. But since I haven't read it, I better come back to it in the next video. So far we learned about propaganda and how its principles are unchanged but vary. Nazi Germany, Mao wanted Marxism, total ideological brainwashing. Also, there was a... So to settle ideological problems, one must act through the democratic methods of discussion, criticism, persuasion, and appropriate education. So the organizations I'm belonging to right now on Facebook, some of them are kind of controversial. So I'm being labeled as extremist because of my support for some of their ideas. How Nazi Germany. Anyway, so Nazi Germany was a period of liberalism, expression of all these different views, tolerated, encouraged, authorized. So be careful what you speak. But then the waves of repression took place, and they were not gentle as a breeze or a summer rain for the enemies of the people. Even a propaganda centered on education cannot do without terror. So the objective is double: to integrate as deeply as possible and to detach from the old ways, the old think, old associations, old ideologies, beliefs, and so forth. These groups must be disintegrated. So our community also, this happened in 1990, we were disintegrated and scattered around the world. Always through action from within. So we still haven't found those responsible within our own KP community. Anyway, sidetracking again. So they need maximum conformity on the part of the individual. Managers be telling me to follow the rules better. Damn. Cooperate. You gotta cooperate with the propaganda. Cooperate with the propagandists. And integrate. Collaborate. Participation is a must in propaganda. And I thought they were mine. Dang. Did I do some time? Oh man. So, integration and detachment. And then it's successful and they're made malleable. They have rejected their old, outdated, Confucianistic witchcraft ways, and they have seen the light, brother. Hallelujah. They have been saved by the grace of the greatest leader of man, Mao, the man who has solved the problems, timeless problems of man. So they're replacing the earlier categories, and also they want to make the individual work beyond his capacity for economic development. Sounds like marriage. That's what bitches be trying to tell me and then denying they ever said it. Because it sounds like monstrous. And I didn't even realize it. Take it for what it was. What? Damn. Situational awareness. Beware of these thoughts, y'all. Anyway, beware your eyes, too. Fucking, my mentor was all like, look me in the eyes. Like, if you don't look someone in the eyes, you're a criminal or some shit. Anyway, I shouldn't have fucking listened to that. You got insects for a reason, right? Anyway, the yogi brahmachari taught me don't look women in the eyes, especially if you have lust. That tends to provoke. But then with guys, you gotta look them in the eyes, because it's a dog-eat-dog world. So yeah. Education. There have been 3 innovations. The traditional process of propaganda are on the increase. Everybody is being taught to read. Newspapers and brochures are placed at everyone's disposal and so on. And now we got the news on our iPhones right at our disposals. The child education is completely integrated into propaganda. From the nursery on. Damn. Even 3-year-olds. Damn. Little children are conditioned, confined and conditioned. Must I add, when they're not suspicious of being confined by stranger danger. So as to make their subconscious receptive to the verities of socialism. So they take them young, give me a child before the age of 10, I can prove to you that he's gonna call snow black and clouds, black too, or white, rain clouds white. Right, dark clouds white. So this takes place on all levels of instruction. The traditional process of propaganda being on the increase. And Common Core proves it. It's a very measured system. Why are you measuring it? Because you want to perfect propaganda, which, as it's already been proved, has been going on for a century plus. This expansion of the discussion system. So they call it discussion. Dialogue, or debating, or, learning from each other. It's called discussion system. In his 1957 report, Mao said, "We have developed in 1942 the slogan, unity, criticism, unity, to define this democratic process of resolving conflicts through criticism and subsequent efforts to arrive at a new unity on a new basis." In my training, I was taught that you give a positive feedback, unity, drop the criticism, which is the what you really think, why you really think it sucks, and then unity, or a great job, you're gonna do it, i.e. believe the propaganda through good feelings. So this is a very democratic or FIFAL method of resolving conflicts through criticism and subsequent efforts to arrive at a new unity on a new basis. Mao reminded his listeners that the first successes of this method, it's also like the borderline tactics, or is it the narcissist tactics of love bombing? So positive, you're great, I love you so much, baby. And then once you get hooked, so many different tactics, of getting us hooked. And it's not their fault, it's society's fault, but once you get hooked, the narcissist then starts playing the games, I say. So criticizing you through 1,000 different paper cuts. And young guys are very ignorant to that, not recognizing patterns and so forth. And then unity. Back to the cock carousel after taking you for all she got and dumping your sorry ass. So this is the democratic method of resolving conflicts and relationships, I would say, of today. Mao reminded, says a guy who has no fucking relationship experience. But Mao reminded his listeners that the first successes of this method go back to 1927, just like the Kama Sutra was written by a celibate virgin, lifelong celibate virgin, supposedly. But I don't know. I mean, it's hard to believe he never touched a fucking girl. But maybe you had to not touch the girl and be totally watching them from the screen in order to be totally detached and analyze better. So the method of persuasion could be used only on workers. Okay. Huh. Could be used only on workers. Right. Because they have to have their lifestyle crippled in order to be better subjugated to the effects of propaganda. But others must be forced. Hence we have the police and the courts. Benevolence for the people, dictatorship for the enemies of the people. That's like protect and serve. I got served. Oh shit. You got served, fool. I got knocked the fuck out, man. There is a genuine propaganda effort for those who can be integrated. So there's a genuine propaganda effort for those who can be integrated. The others are eliminated. It follows a discussion, criticism, unity. So they call it safe. That's why it's funny, because they call it safe space. While so many of us have experienced the brutal tactics used to eliminate us from their so-called safe space. It follows that discussion, criticism, unity is a method that operates only within a limited circle on the basis of common presuppositions and without questioning the common interests. Here come the presuppositions and myths and the physical nature of the group. On this subject, Tibor Mende reported the answer of a director of a steel foundry in Anshan concerning organization of work and establishment of norms. We arrive at decisions after long discussion. Opposition, we rely only on persuasion. Oh, so there is no opposition. There's only persuasion. Hence this kind of very similar to the YouTube censorship going on. There's only persuasion, no opposition allowed. Man, there must be so many people getting paid just checking comments and stuff. In fact, wow, working for these organizations. So we arrive at decisions after long discussions. Opposition, we rely only on persuasion. Sounds like one incident recently. Damn, for me. God damn, no opposition allowed. This is not democratic. Yeah, this is not democratic. Democracy has always been brutal on the outsider groups. We rely only on, and especially American democracy. Jesus Christ. Maybe that's why the Second Amendment was allowed. We rely only on persuasion. There is no chance that someone might resist the decision that is taken after the discussion, when everybody has been persuaded that the road taken is the right one. So no chance to resist the decision after the discussion. That's what they said to me. Oh shit. Oh, okay. I guess I had been persuaded, so uh, by not resisting in a timely manner. Anyway, what the fuck? You rely only on persuasion. No chance that someone might resist the decision that is taken after the discussion when everybody has been persuaded that the road taken is the right one. Well, I wasn't unanimously kicked out of my club. So I don't feel they have a right to keep me out. But anyway, they seem to have taken over, and all the old people are gone anyway. So I don't know what I'm fucking bitching about. I didn't want to be there. Just wanted to check it out. I was too bored. So, or too wanting to vent, probably. Anyway, there's no chance that someone might resist the decision that is taken after the discussion, right? So how can one tell that this road is really the right one? Because everybody has been persuaded that the road is the right one. But how can one tell, for real, that it's the right one? White is not black. We know where the truth lies. There is only one truth, and with patience it can be explained. This complements Mao's method perfectly. So with patience truth can be conquered. They know where the truth lies. There's only one truth, and with patience it can be explained. I guess that's true. That's what I've been saying too. But let us remember the democratic method. A man knows the absolute truth. A man knows the absolute truth. He poses problems for which there are solutions. So in the female democracy system, man only knows the absolute truth, so therefore the real man poses problems, and then there are solutions. Hence feminism, Me Too, so forth, brainwashing. He encourages objections in a limited circle. So the man encourages objections. Oh, okay, so this is now the propagandist who encourages objections. The discussion. And the propagandist is the one who poses problems for which there are solutions. The discussion that follows does not have as its aim the common search for truth. That's what I did. That's what I started tripping about. Damn, dude. A common search for truth, or a plan based on the opinions of all, or a democratically endorsed plan. Hence a court system. And they? Oh, okay. A plan based on the opinions of all, right? So discussion is not about the common search for truth or a plan based on everyone's opinions, because the propagandist is running the show. In my case, the president of the club, Sam Miller. Fuck that fool. Anyway, which will take shape gradually, and his motherfucking assistant, motherfucking fat ass. Shape gradually. The discussion. So discussion takes place gradually, shape gradually. Or the plan takes shape gradually, right? Of course. The aim of the discussion is to use the opposition, and to drain the opponents of their energy and their convictions. So one of his lapdogs, he definitely did that to me with his attitude and his, well, I guess it was my fault too, but the attitude was very offensive. Maybe he was reflecting how I was behaving at the club. I don't know. As they say, you reap what you sow. Anyhow. Oh man. I guess I'm not as funny as I think. Oh man. Oh shit. So the discussion is just there to use the opposition. This is just like Brazil, man. The intro to Brazil, the first news scene, where there's a discussion between the politician and the news journalist, where the propagandist politician is condemning these 7%ers, these incorrigible individualists. He was saying that they just can't tolerate the other guy winning. They just can't tolerate us winning. And the whole attitude, I love that attitude. I wish I could have that attitude. Oh man. He's all like making a whole joke out of this serious discussion about terrorism going on everywhere, keeping people in terror. All the femi terrorists. But the leaders over us are just either femi terrorists or just male feminists who are laughing at us and are lowly, unenviable, slavish positions. Brazil by the Monty Python. Geniuses. Alright, so the discussion takes shape gradually, plan, common search for truth. Aim of the discussion is used to opposition, drain energy, and their convictions. So hold on to your convictions against the propagandists in your surroundings. Its aim is to work over every member of the group or shout down every opposition until, fully and of his own free will, he adheres to a proposition declared to be the absolute truth by the leader. So it's all about consensus building. That's what the Marxists call it now. It's all about making people unanimously agree, and that makes them into a beehive unit that will attack with full force and full excitement. Total psychological, emotional, spiritual mind control for the ideal comrade. So the end goal is to have every member adhere to a proposition declared to be the absolute truth by the leader. The other new, or you gotta always respect females. Can't criticize females. That's the absolute truth. Respect, wow, man. The other new aspect in education is the theory of the mold. The point is to press man in a mold, placing him there periodically to remold him systematically. So make these lockdowns are like the mold, I think. They're remolding us systematically. Whatever his convictions or inclinations may be, even if he is a convinced communist. So even the communists are being targeted and brainwashed for agendas and actions. Mao said, when one builds a socialist society, every person must be placed in the mold. The exploiters as well as the workers. Who says that the working class does not need this? Naturally, molding the exploiter and the worker are two different operations. We ourselves are being placed in the mold every year. I have gone through a remolding of my own thoughts, and I must continue. Oh man. Oh man. So communist, just like female society, is a very constricting and limiting environment. Like the female genital organ. So it must be true that a socialist society will bring out those feminine aspects in the political sphere. Danger, Will Robinson. There is on the one hand a mold of the perfect socialist man which appears as the absolute ideal. There is on the other hand, or the blue-pilled mangina simp, there is on the other hand a method to press people again and again into this mold, to give them the shape conforming to the ideal. So we gotta cut out the masculine aspects out of society, female or male, so they can be the ideal socialist slave. This is no longer the spontaneous formation of the new man, Neo Anderson. Well, that was the new Son of Man, or the new Messiah. So this is no longer the spontaneous formation of the new man as a result of changes in the social structure, as with Karl Marx. Nor is it the voluntary formation of a new man who must be built, but whose eventual entity is not known, as under Lenin. Those were the earlier experiments of propaganda. For Mao, the idea of the mold implies the idea of a recognizable, ideal prototype to which every man must be tailored. This interpretation by Mao, I think that's how they're going to get us MGTOWs, to simp for post-war Tatianas and baby mama femi terrorists, is to fit us into the mold of the recognizable, ideal. I can't even work anymore because they're trying so hard to fit me into that mold of the recognizable, ideal prototype that every man must be tailored to. This interpretation by Mao is confirmed by his concern for laying down criteria. And you know, Mao wasn't alone in China. In America, we had Theodore Roosevelt, similarly pushing that. What do you say? Looks like this time we, the propagandists, have won by a landslide. That means the operation is successful. Its total propaganda has been accomplished with the Maoist patterns and principles. So, it's concern for laying down criteria of action, dogmatic definitions as to what a man should be, and among others, his 6 criteria of good. So Mao is also concerned by the criteria, or concern to lay down the criteria of action. Ha ha ha. Asian fucking thought was dissing me when I was disabled, emotionally and physically, and just trying to rest. She's all like, well, I'm an active person. I'm not a lazy bum like yo ass. I ain't gonna be holding out for no low wage earner. Unambitious buster. Oh fuck. Dang. Anyhow, finish this chapter. Alright, so acts can be judged good not by the gospel, but by these 6 criteria. If they serve to unite the people rather than divide them. So I was criticized for being divisive, bringing down the morale, the perfect propagandist cloak or environment. It would unite the people, not divide them. Favorable to the building of socialism. So, promoting socialism means good. If they so these communists would love to sacrifice the truth, especially the unpleasant truth, to unite the people rather than divide them. How generous. If they consolidate the people's democratic dictatorship, the dictatorship of the mob rule, or democratic dictatorship, or maybe the step before that. If they consolidate democratic centralism is another unifying theme throughout politics and the world. If they reinforce the direction of the Communist Party. Oh, this is a long video. If they are favorable to international socialist solidarity, hence the United Nations Agenda 2030. These criteria of good reflect Mao's concern with furnishing simple means of judgment for socialists. So got to keep the propaganda simple, got to keep it at the base level, because it's only about inciting action. We call it Bhakti Yoga in Hindu tradition. They chant songs, clapping, in a zombified meditative state. And meanwhile, these songs are downloading propaganda. And some even say evil spirits into their minds. But I shouldn't be talking. Abuse and drugs. Man. Party members must also go through the mold. But this assumes that there is a man or a group making the diagnosis and placing people in the mold. Maybe it's just a shitstorm. In any event, it is above all a psychological and ideological operation, hence hard to realize. But the aim is perfect conformity of the individual to the Marxist doctrine and the new structure of society. And the adaptation will be slow, progressive, and systematic. Slow means, oh, it's just around the corner, just wait. Coronavirus is over. You're going to be free again. Slow, progressive, and systematic as a result of successive remoldings. A result of successive remoldings. Or life. And then is encirclement. And this is contained, this important point is discussed in his earlier topic of horizontal propaganda. So I have to go back to read that. Let us only remember that the army no longer has a favored role as a propaganda instrument. I was just going to say, the army is sending students, or attracting students, with the promise of paying off their college debts and college educations. And now education is worthless. But he's saying that our army in China is no longer favored for you being used as propaganda instrument. Horizontal propaganda. That means in your own community. That's what he was discussing earlier about the army and how they slowly infiltrated through all the different techniques and different groups, all unified with the one propaganda, the one ring, to bind them all. So Kunal checking out with an hour-long class discussion about post-war China, or Agenda 2030, what we have to look forward to in this next new decade of the second millennium, the second decade of the second millennium of our Lord Jesus Christ.